Good to see you.
See you.
Good. All right, we'll go ahead and get started here with Michael Kim here at the Farmers Insurance Open. Michael, making your 8th start at this tournament here this week, and obviously high school down the road at Torrey Pines High School. I guess just starting out, how special is it to be back and be a part of this tournament again?
Yeah, this tournament is obviously really special for me. This is Torrey Pines, where I grew up playing. I went to Torrey Pines High School, and do I need to speak closer in, or we're okay?
I think we should be getting it.
Yeah. No, there we go.
There we go.
So I'm always excited to come back to this event, and it's almost a dream come true. Dream is to actually win the thing, so we'll see.
Well, you're coming in on some great form, finishing tied for 6th at the American Express, finishing the birdies on the last 4 holes. It also puts you in a really good position for the Aon Swing 5. You're 6th in the standings right now, and a good finish this week and opportunity to get into Pebble Beach. What added motivation does that give you here this week with that goal out there?
I certainly don't need any more motivation than I have to win this tournament, but Pebble Beach is also another cool, obviously really cool place. Having gone to school at Cal near there, I enjoyed playing with amateurs in that format. And I played, I think I finished 11th there last year, so just good vibes for that week, and hopefully I can do a good week this week and move on to next week too.
And just real quickly before questions, you again, talking about your recent form, you mentioned that you maybe didn't feel like you had your best stuff last week, but you were able to make adjustments throughout the course of the 4 days and turn in a good result. Does that give you any additional confidence knowing that, hey, I can still, finish in the top 10 in a given week, even though I'm not necessarily, firing on all cylinders?
Yeah, definitely. Heading into Sony, a few things that Sean and I were working on, and it was pretty inconsistent at Sony with the ball striking, but the putting and chipping was really good, and was able to figure some stuff out while playing Amex last week, and was able to put up a good final round. So it's definitely a confidence booster knowing that I don't always have to feel great to have a good finish out here.
Perfect. All right, we'll start with questions here, and we'll go ahead and start with Todd.
Michael, do you understand the Aon enough to know what you need to do this week? Do you have any idea?
I understand that Carl is in front of me. I understand I need to be inside the top 5. I wasn't thinking about it at all until a few days ago. I think I'm 20 or some odd points behind, and I need to, be inside the top 5. And like always, the answer is play better. So, if I have a good week this week, it'll work out accordingly, I'm sure.
But as far as you know, you would need a top 5? You would need a top 5, or
I need to be inside the top 5 of that list, of that Aon 5 list. I don't. If I have a top 5 this week, I'm sure I'll be in next week. But yes.
But you don't know exactly what position you need to get into necessarily.
I guess in a perfect world, I think I'm like 20-something points behind, which is like a top 15, 20th. So I'm sure that's probably the minimum I need to do. But regardless, like I said, I have plenty of motivation to do my best this week. So I'm not too worried about that at the moment.
The creation of the Aon is obviously to give guys a chance to get into some of the signature events. I mean, how great a thing is it that you have this opportunity so early in the season to make some kind of mark as far as your next step?
Yeah, definitely. For me, typically I've always loved the West Coast swing. I grew up in California, went to school to California. But typically I've been a slow starter, but this last week at the Amex was great to get off to a good start and hopefully continue that to Pebble. When I was looking at the schedule, for this year, it's kind of one of those things where, like the majors for me, where if I get into them, great, but it's not like I'm planning on playing Pebble or Genesis or stuff like that. So it was a nice surprise to see that I have a good chance for next week, and hopefully a good week will take care of that.
The contrast between playing out in the desert and then coming here, weather aside, we got like 3 inches of rain yesterday or whatever. Is that, do you think that the conditions at Torrey and the difficulty scares some guys away, and maybe scares is the wrong word, but just makes guys have to really weigh their schedule as far as, do they want to come out here this early in the season and play a course this difficult?
Yeah, I think in the past, the Poana greens have been maybe not an issue, but a tricky point. But I have played on these greens when they're the absolute worst on a Friday afternoon at 6 p.m. So the greens don't faze me as much. But it's just, I feel like this tournament, the guys that play it every year play it. Certain guys skip it every year, but yeah.
How about the difficulty of it this early in the season when you're still working on your game?
It is long and difficult, obviously, but it's quite generous off the tee in that there's not too many hazards off the tee. Like, you'll be able to find it in most holes, other than maybe like 4 if you go left, 7. No, you can't really lose it on 7. But you'll be able to find your golf ball. So it's the fairways themselves are tight, but you'll be able to find it as long as you hit it within reason. So it's a bit of a balance, I think.
One more. What have you thought of the rough the last couple of years, the last few years, as far as how difficult it is, and even looking at the north and the south?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest differences is how difficult the north has kind of become. I feel like when I first, came to this tournament as a kid, everyone tore up the north. I remember distinctly Snedeker shot like 61 or some ridiculously low, and kind of used that as a springboard. But now I don't think the gap is as wide. The rough, we'll see. It's obviously rained a lot, so I don't know. I don't think they'll be able to even cut it. Usually they don't cut it when it's this wet. So we'll see. I haven't really checked out the golf course too much from the rain, but I feel really comfortable out here, and I'm sure I can adjust.
All right, let's go over here.
Michael, this is a bit of a broad question, but I think this week marks the 10th anniversary of your first PGA Tour event. What could you have imagined the journey that you've been on back then in those 10 years? I mean, you had the win, you had all the struggles, you've had your recent play. I think your world ranking was, well into 4 figures, and now you're at 100, which I think might be your best one ever. What can you just kind of put in perspective a little bit what these 10 years have been like, and if you could have imagined anything like that if you were sitting up there 10 years ago this week?
Definitely not. I mean, it has been a pretty big roller coaster ride. When you show up when you grow up, hoping to someday play in the event, you only think about the good things that might happen. You don't really necessarily think about all the bad things that can happen. But during those ups and downs, I feel like I've grown a lot as a person and as a golfer, and certainly much more knowledgeable about my mental game, my full swing, and all that. So, hopefully I can use those ups and downs to further my career starting now. And like you said, I'm finally I think I'm 100th now. Nick Dunlap, it just took him 4 events, but to be inside. But that, it is what it is. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully I can use those learn lessons for a better career going forward.
What did you learn about yourself during those years when you were struggling, and how did you keep it together?
Luckily, I've always had a great support system outside of golf. I was able to kind of differentiate some of the bad golf and the real life stuff. I was able to kind of leave the bad on the golf course, and once I got off, I was okay. I was sad for sure during a lot of those moments, but for the most part, I was able to differentiate that. And now, coming back, I just have a ton of gratitude being here, feeling like my game is in a good shape. Never would have imagined the degrees of ups and downs, but in the end, it's I consider it as just a big process of it all.
You mentioned off the course, and much has been made about your social media presence. Was there a conscious decision you made at some point that you wanted to be more, I guess, just put yourself out there with people? I mean, that website can be a cesspool for a lot of
it can,
people.
Yeah. I think, I don't know the exact moment I decided, but there definitely was obviously a moment where I decided I wanted to be a little more active. Like I mentioned to Todd last week, Max, obviously being a really close friend, a college teammate of mine, and I guess if there was one moment, I played with him at the Safeway, not this last one, but the one before that, and for whatever reason, Max is in my career. We never really matched up. When I was playing well, he was playing bad, and when he was playing well, I was playing bad. So I hadn't really seen his following grow as much, and I think that week was a big eye opener. And seeing the following that he had, seeing the crowd that he drew, I certainly that was a bit of a catalyst for me, thinking, maybe I can use Twitter or X as something to grow, quote unquote, my brand, and that was probably the biggest start point of it all. Yeah.
Last thing, what's been the highlight of doing that? I mean, I imagine you've interacted with a lot of people. You've watched a lot of bad swings and analyzed them. What have you taken, and what have you taken from it?
The highlight, I don't know if there's a real highlight. I think it's just, even last week, I ended up playing with a couple of my followers on Twitter as amateur participants. So, once in a while, I'll get someone from the crowd recognizing me, which is, as a kind of a regular PGA Tour player, is pretty rare. And so just those moments kind of shows me that I'm doing something good, I guess. And so I think it's those moments that kind of surprise me, like, oh my gosh, like, you actually recognize me compared to the next guy. Those kind of moments are probably the positives for sure.
Cool. All right, just go up here to Paul.
Hey, Michael. I recently on Twitter, you kind of showed your swings throughout the years and how they changed and matured. I'm just wondering, as you've gone through coaching, if you've realized there's a certain type of coaching that you respond to best, or certain ways, if that's evolved, on how you like to go about things with a coach.
I think there are certain swing characteristics that I do much better with. I don't know if there are certain coaching styles, but it's definitely some methodology stuff that definitely I do better with. Whether that's kind of a neutral to open club face compared to a shut club face. I do much better with a neutral club face. And the work that I have done with Sean over the last, I want to say 2.5 years has been great, and I guess I worked really well with Sean. Not that I didn't work well with coaches before, but I've seen definitely the most success with Sean.
Is it just the way you guys interact or the way he talks about the game?
I do think, Sean is a well thought out person. He's definitely thinking about all kinds of different things at all times, and he's definitely a type of coach, and to be honest, a person that I really haven't interacted a ton with, but everything has been awesome for me at this point. So maybe it is the way he gives me certain swing ideas or thoughts about it, but whatever it has been great.
Then a little off topic, just as someone who played last week and was kind of intimately familiar with the golf course and the tournament, just what did you think about what Nick was able to do as a young amateur and kind of how impressive that is?
I mean, it's unbelievable. I think this was his 4th or 5th professional event. He's 20 years old. I guess I think I might have been about that age when I first turned pro here. When you're that young, you're kind of you just don't have as much scar tissue, and so you're able to kind of freewheel it. He obviously is an incredible golfer. It's pretty amazing. And then also at the same time, I saw that Jordan Spieth, when he won the John Deere, was actually younger than Nick. So I think the amateur tag has changed our idea on how young he was. But you just see the things that Jordan has done is equally as impressive. But obviously what Nick did last week, playing with Sam, playing with JT on that final round, is super impressive stuff.
Okay.
When you think about all the time you spent on this property, is there any certain memory that comes to mind that makes you appreciate your journey?
Whenever I come back, I remember mostly Tiger shots, some of his most famous shots out here, and me trying those shots. Mostly the putt on 18 when he won the U.S. Open, or to get into the playoff in the U.S. Open. Certainly, I think 2 weeks after that event, when I was able to play, I think I tried a few putts from that exact spot. The putt on 13 he made from the back of the green to the front on Saturday. Just mainly those memories of trying really some of the shots that he hit. And also just remember him making eagle on the North Course they switched up to 9, so I'm always confused. It's 9 or 18. I just remember him making an eagle putt. It's a lot of those kind of cool memories that come back whenever I come back.
Do you remember the first time or the year that you stepped on property watching a tournament?
I don't remember the exact time, but probably I would think the first time I watched Tiger in person I was in middle school, I think, so maybe like 2006 or something like that was probably the first time.
Perfect. All right, let's go back there.
Hey, Michael. NBC San Diego, Darnay Trip here. Did you make that putt on 18 when you tried it 2 weeks later?
Well, the cup wasn't exactly there, so I put a tee down. But I certainly, I think I put a tee down. I took a couple tries at it, and I probably imitated Tiger's fist pump, and then looked around to see if anyone was watching. But I probably wasn't the only person trying that putt after that. So.
No, definitely not. You talked about your social media presence. You had some fun on Twitter yesterday. Did you relish the opportunity to remind everybody, like, hey, I'm one of the hometown guys too?
So it's kind of funny. So a friend sent me the screenshot of my name not being on the list of guys on San Diego, and so I'm kind of looking at the list. I see Charlie Hoffman. I'm like, yeah, I get that. I see Xander Schauffele. I'm like, yeah, I get that. I see JJ Spawn. I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. If you remember JJ, you should probably remember me. And then I see Cameron Sisk, and I'm like, who the hell is Cameron Sisk? And then, funny enough, I actually ran into him on the range just earlier, and he had a picture. He caddied for me like 10 years ago when I was playing this event as like a first tee, like walk up 18, and he sent me the picture. It was kind of funny that like it was kind of one of my first old veteran guy moment, I guess, because I still feel like I'm one of the younger guys out here, but seeing that was kind of funny.
You mentioned kind of some of the negativity. I know it can be hard for professional athletes. Did you have to overcome any of that when you decided to kind of lean into social media? I'm sure that through the years you'd seen kind of negative comments and that sort of thing, like all athletes seem to.
For the most part, I feel like a lot of it's been pretty positive, to be honest, considering it is usually somewhat negative. It's usually like the live troll bots that are like kind of commenting once in a while, but of the negative stuff. But that doesn't mean that those guys are sending out tweets to every PGA Tour player, so those are pretty easy to ignore. For the most part, I feel like everyone has been pretty positive about some of the stuff that I've been tweeting.
And lastly for me, what have you learned through the years in your experience about what it takes to score out here when it is a little bit damp?
Yeah, I feel like I've played this tournament in every condition, and not just like going back to junior golf, but when I played when I was a junior, but like the few times that I have played well and I have been kind of near the lead. I feel like the first time was the year Snedeker won. In that Monday finish, it was torrential downpour. It was blowing 40 miles per hour. I shot maybe like 82 or something. It was so hard. And then the next time, I did well. The Santa Ana winds came, and it was blowing 30. I think Jason Day won that year. So every time I've done well through Saturday, it has been like a crazy weather type day. Hopefully this time around, it looks like the weather's going to be good. So hopefully I can play well enough to contend. And if the things go right, hopefully I have a chance.
All right, we'll just finish up here. Mark, go ahead.
Todd's got one after me.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Michael, while we're going down memory lane, most guys would remember their first PGA Tour start. Do you have any distinct memory of your first start here in 2014?
To be honest, I just remember being super nervous on the first tee. I remember my game wasn't in at all good shape heading into the week. I kind of scrapped it around Thursday on the North course to shoot 2 under. I remember I went to the back of the range and I saw Tiger was hitting some golf balls, and Sean Foley was the coach at that time, and I had known Sean a little bit at that point, so I kind of used him as an intro to get a picture with him afterwards. Stuff like that. I know I played pretty terrible that Friday to miss the cut, but I just remember those first tee jitters for sure. I was as nervous as I had ever been.
All right, we'll finish with Todd here again.
When you tried the Tiger putt after the Open, did you make it?
So I put a tee down and I pretended to make it and give it the old.
You hit the tee? Did you?
I think I was. I don't think I hit the tee itself, but it was close enough to where I pretended to make it.
people have talked about how hard that putt was. It was not straight by any stretch of imagination. Do you remember that part of it that you're like thinking, holy crap?
I mean, I feel like everyone remembers how bumpy the greens were and that slow motion of it kind of rolling and bumping along and it taking a while for it to break and all that. Yeah.
Did you come for the U.S. Open that year? Were you on the property?
I wasn't on the property. I don't think. I think my parents just told me to watch it on TV. So, and I want to say I was playing a golf tournament, like a junior golf, maybe like an AJGA tournament. So I wasn't on site, but obviously watched every moment of it that I could.
Monday too?
Monday too, yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Michael, we thank you so much for the time, and best of luck this week.
Thank you.
Is there any way we could get that photo of you
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Cameron?
yeah,
I think the broadcast would
Yeah,
just
yeah.
love to have